You know what happens when someone decides to just walk? I don't mean for an afternoon, I mean for months, across 2,200 miles of pure wilderness. Can a journey like that actually fundamentally change who you are? Well, today we're going to dig into one man's incredible journey and find out.
But let's actually start at the end, with the answer. This is what Gregor Wallman, or Gutsy as he was known on the trail, said after he finished the entire Appalachian Trail. An outgoing and optimistic person. Wow, that's a serious transformation. So that's the big question, isn't it? How does that happen? How does all that dirt, sweat, and just an endless path through the woods turn a kind of reserved engineer into the outgoing, optimistic guy we just heard from?
To really understand the change, you first have to meet the man who was standing at the very beginning of that path.
So this is Gregor Wallman. Before he was Gutsy, he was a bridge engineer, thinking about what's next as he got closer to retirement. His life was all about structure, plans, blueprints, pretty different from the trail.
Before he left, Gregor kind of asked himself some tough questions, like, why am I doing this? And his answers are so honest. He felt his biological clock was ticking, and he wanted one more huge adventure, anything but just sitting at home. And his biggest fear? It wasn't bears or anything like that. It was his own body giving out on him.
Okay, so on the trail, everybody gets a nickname, a trail name, and his became Gutsy. And the story behind it is just perfect. On an earlier hike, he accidentally mixed one of those do-not-eat desiccant packs into his food and just ate it anyway. So the name started as a bit of a joke, but as we're going to see, it was like he was predicting the exact person he was about to become.
All right, so he's got the name, he's got his reasons. But what exactly was he about to face? Let's just try to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this thing.
First up, the distance. 2,200 miles. To put that in perspective, that's basically like walking from New York City all the way to Las Vegas. And then there's the climbing. We're talking 460,000 feet of total elevation gain. That is the same as climbing Mount Everest from the bottom to the very top 16 times. Just let that sink in. And this is where it all started for him. But notice, this isn't the official start in Georgia. It's McAfee Knob in Virginia, which is near his home. See, he planned this really unique wraparound hike. First, walk north to the end in Maine, then go all the way south to the official start in Georgia, just so he could hike that last section back home.
So he started off with all this optimism, right? But the trail doesn't wait long to show you how tough it really is. It's a brutal, brutal test.
He said himself that at first he was just having a blast, but then he hit a section in Pennsylvania that hikers have nicknamed Rocksylvania. And it's famous for being this soul-crushing stretch of just endless ankle-twisting rocks that slows you down to a crawl. Yeah, the fun part was definitely over. And that physical grind, it quickly turned into a mental one. By the time he got to New Hampshire, he was at his absolute lowest point. He wrote in his journal, "I am in a deep funk." At that moment, the joy was totally gone. The only thing keeping him moving was that he didn't want to fail. And you can just feel the exhaustion and frustration in his words here. He felt like the trail itself was trying to break him. He called the climbs awful. This wasn't an adventure anymore, it was a fight. And this really captures the paradox of the trail. One minute you feel completely trapped by the effort, you're staring at a license plate that feels like it's mocking you, live free or die. And then the next, the trail gives you a sunset, a moment of pure beauty that reminds you why you're out there. It's just enough to help you get your mojo back. But that will to keep going didn't just come from the scenery. Something else was happening. It came from the people he met. He was discovering that he wasn't out there alone. You see, the Appalachian Trail is this living, breathing community. You've got thousands of people from all over, all sharing the same goal, the same struggles, and celebrating the same small wins. There's this incredible culture of support out there. They call it trail magic, and it's a huge part of the experience. And this is where you can see the transformation happening in real time. He wrote this, "I used to be timid, shy, and reserved, but on trail I am Gutsy, the zany Austrian." That trail community gave him the freedom to basically step out of his old self and literally grow into his new name. Because of Gutsy's unique route, his journey had not just one but two super emotional finish lines to cross. So first, after months and months of hiking north, he finally reaches the legendary summit of Mount Katahdin in Maine, the trail's northern end. And he got to celebrate that huge accomplishment with his new trail family, these friends he'd bonded with through all that hardship. But for Gutsy, that wasn't the real end.
He then flew all the way down to Springer Mountain, Georgia, the southern end, to complete his mission. His ultimate goal wasn't just some mountain peak. It was hiking those last 700 miles back to where he started. He was, literally, hiking home.
So, after all the miles, all the pain, those moments of total despair and moments of pure joy, what did Gutsy actually take away from this whole thing?
The lessons he learned are pretty simple, but they are so profound. Hike your own hike. Live your own life. Basically, stop comparing yourself to other people. Be kind to yourself. It's okay to have limits. Optimism is warranted. Trust that something good is right around the corner. And maybe the toughest one for a self-sufficient person, accept the kindness of others.
Gutsy's story is just amazing proof that a long walk can be a deep journey inside yourself. It kind of strips away everything non-essential and then builds you back up, stronger and more optimistic. And it really leaves you with a final thought. What journey, big or small, would you take to find a new version of yourself?